So normally I don't do comparison videos on my channel because I think that comparing things like games shouldn't be really a thing when it's coming to both AAA developers. But in this case, I think it worth a comparison, okay? Because Spider-Man 2 rocks like a lot, like a lot, and it works a hell of a lot better than Ragnarok did, and I'm going to be going over why. I know it's been a hot minute, but I think this is a great video, and I think you guys are going to enjoy. So, so why does Spider-Man 2 work better? Well, first let's go over the characters, okay? Because the characters here are somehow even more improved than the last game, and they work perfectly here. So we've got Peter and Miles compared to Atreus and Kratos in God of War Ragnarok. And while I obviously, adore Kratos, he's like a badass character. He's one of the best in gaming. He's just the epitome of badass, right? But the problem lies with the fact that Ragnarok tries to do what Spider-Man 2 does excellently in having two playable characters. However, not only is it forced upon you, but it's in sections that last way, way longer, and you don't even get to go back because, again, it's semi-open world. It's not fully like Spider-Man 2 is. So you're left with a situation where you're only able to play for small periods of time, and unfortunately that really hurt the game. Now let's go on to Spider-Man 2. With Spider-Man 2, you could pick as either character. Now, there are some sections that you have to play as one or the other, but it makes sense for the story. It makes sense for the section you're playing. And afterwards, you can go back as that character, as Miles or Peter, and play through those sections. That's what makes the game so much more different, is that you have the ability to actively choose. And that's what I love so much about Spider-Man 2, is that you have a lot more choice and player freedom in how you go about missions and how you go about the game. Whereas with Ragnarok, it feels like you're constantly being forced to play as Atreus or Kratos and never given a free option to play as one or the other. Now, you do get more partners in Ragnarok, I'll give it that. You get more people to play as your secondary assistant. You're like the person who shoots arrows or throws pots as Sindri, etc. But you don't really get that same sensation in Spider-Man 2 where you do play as Peter or Miles, and the other doesn't really come to help you all as often. But I will say, on the times that they do, it is really, really fun to see the other character around in the city, and even special characters that you may encounter along the way. I'm not going to spoil that part of it, but I will say that there is a ton of side characters to help you as well in Spider-Man 2, just like Ragnarok. But I think something major that works significantly better overall is just, again, the story. Including multiple main characters, it's a hard thing to do, and Ragnarok completely fumbles the bag with this. It does have a lengthy time, I will say that. It's a pretty long game, but even with all that time and exploration, you don't really get the sensation that it's about either one of the characters. Realistically, I thought it was more Kratos' story, but Atreus had such an impact for no real reason that ultimately it just hurt the impact of the story more, and I really think that's what killed the game for me, is that it was being pulled in either direction for either Kratos or Atreus when it's called God of War, not God of Loki. Okay, I'll stop with I'll stop with those shitty puns, Mister. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop. Okay, but you get my point, right? It just gets pulled way too much compared to Spider-Man 2, where I think both characters get an even amount of time, and even the beginning they share the same section together. A lot of the story they share together actually, and it fits well and goes smoothly. That's why I think that's like the definition of this game, is be greater together. Because they work together so seamlessly, it makes the game stronger as a whole. And that's just further proven by the fact that you can play as Peter and Miles. I tended to go towards more Peter just because that symbiote suit, you know what I mean. But with Miles, I still had a ton of fun with him as a character and playing as him, and he got his own unique abilities as well. So there's just so much differentiation there that I think it works much better and much smarter than Ragnarok ever could. Now, that's not to say Ragnarok doesn't pull this off somewhat well, as when you do play as Atreus, you do get some unique abilities as well. His Spartan Rage is very unique, and I really like it, but you can't choose it. Like, you can't go onto Atreus if you want to or not. You just play as him regardless, and that's what really pisses me off, because when I have to do something as Atreus, I don't want to. But if I want to do something as Kratos, I do it. Because it's fun not just playing as him, but doing what I want as that character. Being forced to do it just makes it even worse. Now, obviously, Spider-Man 2, you have to do things with certain characters, but I like the character more because I've been able to choose whether or not I want to play as him until these sections come up where you have to, and it makes more sense for the story rather than a forced subplot where the character leaves for no reason. That's like the biggest strength here is that the characters are united, and even when divided, it doesn't feel like it because you can choose who you play as at certain times. And most of the time, after you beat certain sections of the story, and when you beat the story entirely, you can play whenever you want. Unlike Ragnarok, where once you beat it, you just play as Kratos for the rest of the game, which is fine by me, and I think fine by many other players. But I was never a fan of splitting the characters and then doing nothing with it really. And as we've got no DLC for Ragnarok, I'm just going to assume it's going to be the case. Maybe we will get DLC, but I highly doubt it at this point. So, yeah, that's pretty much a lot of what I had to say. I think Spider-Man 2 is just overall a better package and a better game because it uses dual characters perfectly. And not to mention the other, other stuff like better graphics and uses DualSense more and runs at 4K 120. I'm not gonna put all that nonsense into the end of the video, but I just think Spider-Man 2 is more of a complete package and earns a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Just minor things here and there keeping it from a 10, but it is unbelievably close. Like 9.99999 out of 10, right? And Ragnarok is like, 5 out of 10 for me. Like it's mediocre, it's average. It's like average at best. I played it once and never again. I think I platinumed it, but if I did not, I'm not going to go bother. So, in conclusion, Ragnarok doesn't work as well as Spider-Man 2 for those following reasons, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please slap your like button and subscribe. You know I can always use a new addition to the army, and it is really hot in here, so that's why you might hear the fan. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I promise I won't take 3 months to make another video. All right? As for where I've been, I've literally just been, at college. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.